think we're already live. Can you check on YouTube if you're live? I think we're already live. Yeah, there you go. Can you check on YouTube?
I think the video is frozen.
No. I've just put it on.
Okay.
We're live, right? Okay. All right. So hi. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to session 26. Ask me anything at FinTree. I do this session on every Saturday, 11:40 the same time, and the purpose of the session is to answer career-related or finance-related queries in general. Today's session is the first session where I would also be having a guest along with me. I have Siddharth. Congratulations, Aditya. I have Siddharth today with me. And hi, Siddharth. Welcome to the show, and thank you for doing this.
Thank you very much.
Why don't you do a quick introduction of yourself in terms of your background?
Sure. So thank you very much for inviting me. It's been a very long time that we are meeting in person again. Just for the sake of the audience, I was also a student at FinTree. This was many years back. I think I was just chatting with Sir. It was sometime around 2014 that I actually came to this institute for the first time. And I owe a lot to FinTree and Utkarsh Sir for helping me clear my CFA. This was about
Very kind. Thank you.
and I'm sure everybody agrees that FinTree is a great institute, especially for CFA training. So just quickly a little bit about myself. I have broadly about 22 years of experience. I spent my initial 18, 19 years working.
You're a CFA charter holder.
So I'm a CFA charter holder.
Anything else?
I have also done a management program from IIM Lucknow.
Okay.
This was a one-year executive program. In terms of my work experience, so my initial 18 years I've spent with very large corporates. So I worked for a few years with Reliance Industries, worked with the CFO's office there. I was involved in a lot of investor relations, research-related work out there. From Reliance, I moved to the Kirloskar Group, which is again like a lot of listed companies there.
Yeah. Fun fact: your name in my phone book is saved as Siddharth Kirloskar.
Okay. Yeah, that was the time when I was actually
Correct. You were here.
Kirloskar. And the good thing so I spent a very long time in Kirloskar, like almost 8-9 years.
What were you doing there?
Spending that much time in one company, right? You don't see too many people spending so much time, in one company for so long. But for me, it was a great experience because I started first year. I was, in finance, corporate finance there. But I got an opportunity to move away from finance and go to the CEO's office. Right, and that's where I spend most of my time in Kirloskar. I had an opportunity to step away from just pure play finance, right? If you meet a lot of people in finance, they spend most of their time in like financial statements, accounting, investment management, but very few actually have spent time in actually getting their hands dirty. And that is an opportunity that I got in Kirloskar, where we were actually, I was involved in projects where we had to improve the performance of a manufacturing plant. I was involved in strategy-related project. I was involved, of course, I spent a lot of time heading the investor relations at Kirloskar. Through my experience there, I had the privilege of interacting with the likes of Sunil Singhania, Pankaj Tibrewal, because they were all investors of Kirloskar.
Right, and you were on the other side.
And I was on the
handling
sell side.
Investor relations, yeah.
I was the one who was taking all the questions and answering those, right? So it was a very good experience. I think I learned a lot about business, which goes beyond financial statements, right? Today, when you look at financial statements, you see what has happened, right? But it's very difficult to understand as to why those numbers have come about, right? And I think that as any finance professional, I think it's very important to, in order to become a good finance professional, whether you're on the investment management side, you're on corporate finance side, I think getting some bit of hands-on experience of business is something which is really very useful. So anyway, I had that opportunity, spent 19 years, at the end of 9 years at Kirloskars. I thought that, there's so much that I have learned from both Reliance as well as Kirloskars. I think that there's some point that comes in your career where you want to do something on your own, right? And so I thought, there's so much that I've learned here that I can offer a lot to the small and medium businesses, which are that just kind of coming up. And so I started with incorporate a company by the name of CapSearch Consulting. This was in 2020. The idea was to set up a boutique corporate finance advisory firm and help companies both on the capital raise side as well as on the capital deployment side, right? So
That's interesting.
Companies that either require
So when you say,
capital-
sorry, corporate finance advisory, how is that different than maybe a boutique investment bank?
Yeah, so it's the same in a way, but it's not that we do only capital raise, right? Boutique investment banks typically are in either equity raise or debt raise. We do that. In fact, we did that in 2021. We helped a digital payments company raise $4 million. And then that's another journey, which I will maybe talk about later on. But capital raise is one of the things, but I think that a lot of companies need a lot more help in financial management, right? Whether it is financial planning, whether it is helping them with their budgeting, identifying key operating metrics, overall getting companies investor ready, right? So objective is either to get them investor ready so that they can either do a fundraise or sell their company, or it could be as general as helping them create shareholder value, right?
So you're saying your work doesn't end just at fundraising. So you're saying with CapSearch, right?
Yeah.
So you do fundraising, and then after that,
Yeah.
you also advise on how to deploy
Yes.
capital. So
That's right.
basically,
That's
all the work that you did at Reliance and Kirloskar,
Absolutely.
that's
Correct,
coming in.
Correct. Yeah. So there are companies. So we work with a set of clients today. Most of them are on the capital deployment side, which is your financial
Interesting.
management. I am personally of the belief that you should, as a business, you should not, have the need to raise capital from outside, right? The idea of being in business is fundamentally that you should make profit and then grow the business through your internal accruals. This is my personal
Investment bankers saying
It's
that.
yeah. So I've seen a lot of companies. I've seen
But then how do you give just a counter
sure.
thesis? Then
Yeah.
we'll quickly
Yeah,
get back to
sure,
questions as well.
yeah.
But there are a lot of opportunity, a lot of businesses where you have a very heavy upfront capex requirement without which you can't,
Yeah.
right? I mean, then capital raising is, yes, for some businesses that approach works where you start small, you make profits, you deploy. But some businesses require that kind of capital.
So, I mean, if you see some of the new age businesses, especially if you see businesses in the D2C space, right, or any consumer facing businesses, there is a lot of investment that goes in acquiring customers through your marketing spend, through your digital marketing spend, right? So there I understand that, you require a lot of capital. But is there any way in which there can be some improvement in some of those customer acquisition metrics, right? Which can improve over time, which can,
Just
take
keep
a
the mic a
company-
little closer here.
take a company from, a loss making to a profit making. That is the whole journey, right? So it's not that ideally I would not want to raise capital, but yes, what you're saying is right. There are some businesses
Some
that
situations
do
you
require,
need them.
capital,
And that's
right?
where people like you come in.
That's
right?
that's where we try and come and we help companies with, their entire journey,
Sure.
basically. Yeah.
So Siddharth, if someone is listening, most of our audience is like young kids, most of them, not all, wanting to build some sort of a career in finance.
Okay. Yeah.
So someone who does not have any idea of what investment banking is,
Yeah.
right, at the core, because बहुत बार यहाँ पे counseling, people come in for counseling, we ask them क्या करना है, they say I want to be an investment banker.
Yeah.
Then we ask them, okay, tell us what do you think investment banking is, they're clueless. So can you simplify for someone who has no idea of what investment banking is? You spoke about buy side, sell side. Can you give us a little
So,
insight
I mean,
there?
the kind of banks, investment banks that I've come across, there are broadly uh, two sides to it, right?
Two sides.
Two
Okay.
sides. So one is on the fund, the investment management side. So this is the side where they are typically they have investors who invest in funds, and then they are actively managing those funds. It could be either in the secondary market, it could be in the debt market, or it could be even in the early stage, right? Or even it could be real estate, right? So there's the investment management side. And then you have this side where you have the whole advisory arm, where and it is the corporate finance advisory arm, but the advisory is more around helping companies with raising capital, and it could be either from in the private market, or it could be helping a company go for an IPO, right?
Right.
So broadly, these are the two wings
So the
that I
second
see.
part we can call more as investment banking.
Second part is more that we can call as investment banking, but the reason why I talked about the first part is because you do have these funds
Yeah.
in investment banks that actually do the
Yeah,
investment
it's
management.
kind of an umbrella vague term, right,
Yeah,
which we use.
correct,
So
yeah.
so basically, if you're helping companies raise money through equity, debt at whatever stage, you
Yeah.
can call yourself as an investment banker,
That's correct.
right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Then you spoke about buy side and sell side. What does that mean?
Okay, so there are two aspects to it. There is a buy side and the sell side. So what is a buy side? So well, let me talk about the sell side first, because that's where I have been, and since I already talked about my journey so far. So I was actually heading the investor relations for Kirloskar Brothers. I'm sure a lot of the listeners would be aware of the Kirloskar Group. There are a few stocks that are already listed. uh, you have a lot of investors who would want to understand more about the Kirloskar companies, right? And there has to be somebody within the organization who can actually answer these questions, right? Primarily, that is a role of somebody on the sell side, where you're in a way selling your KBL stock. You're selling more. You want more people to buy the stock that you're representing, right? So that's when you come on the sell side.
So if I'm raising funds,
Yeah.
that means I'm selling some
Yes,
instruments.
correct.
Then I become sell side.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
investment banker helping me to sell funds or raise money is a
That's
sell
correct.
side investment banker.
That's correct. Or you could have somebody on the investment banking side who's representing a company and he's selling a particular stock.
Right. So some,
to
yeah,
anybody who's actually deploying money and investing is somebody on the buy side.
right.
It's
So for example, let's say if I decide to acquire some company in the future,
yeah.
and then I hire an investment banker to help me do that,
Yes.
then those will be
Those guys
called
would be on the
buy side investment banker.
buy side of investment
And
bankers.
then
Yeah.
whichever company we're trying to buy,
Yeah.
they will have a investment banker.
Correct.
So their investment banker would be a sell side.
Sell side, yeah. So just to kind of add a little bit more flavor to something that I've also done in the past, is that I've been associated with a division of Reliance Jio since 2020 called GeoGenX, and I was working there as a consultant. I still am an advisor there. My role was to help Geo with identifying companies that they can acquire. So if you remember in
Interesting.
2020-21, Reliance was on a acquisition spree. They acquired a lot of early stage companies. I was there to kind of identify companies in the fintech side. So digital
Right.
lending companies,
So
digital
more of
payments
what Geo
companies.
Finance is today.
So now GeoFinance is getting built along those lines, but they had started that whole journey a lot earlier. And they were looking at, what are the kind of business models out there? What are the kind of companies there? So I was kind of going and scouting around, getting companies, talking to them. In fact, that is how I came across EaseBuzz. So there I was playing the role again from a
Buy side, buy side.
right?
So these teams which actively look for acquisition targets
Yes.
in the companies,
Yeah.
are they given some name? What is this team called within the organization?
So they typically fall under the finance function. And in large companies like Reliance, it would be corporate finance, because you have under finance, you got accounts and you
Right.
got finance, right? So it's typically under the corporate
Corporate.
finance function.
Is
There's
it
really
also
always
called corporate development teams? I've heard some
sometimes,
IT
yes,
companies
yeah, correct. That's
call
right.
them.
So corporate development is also another name that gets associated with it. But the thing with corporate development team, they're not in their scope goes beyond just scouting for investment. Their scope goes into strategy, helping the company with articulating or building a strategy for the future. You know,
So
so
it's a wider
it's
scope
a
than
wider
just
scope
looking for
under
acquisition.
corporate development.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you for the
So
elaborate
yes,
introduction. So now we have a bunch of questions.
Sure.
The way it works is people basically post questions on the comments
Okay.
of the YouTube, and then we just take those questions and answer. And then towards the end of the session, we'll also be taking some live questions on the chat box. Here's question number one from Shruti SY. Okay. Hello, sir. I have two questions. CFA level 1 candidate. Do I need a MBA to get into private equity? Okay, I get this very often. Uh, where should I start impact of AI in Okay, that's a separate question. We'll move that for a bit. I think let's talk about first one.
Okay.
How do you get into private equity? I mean, it looks like, I mean, I keep on hearing people coming and telling me I want to be a venture capitalist or private equity.
Sure.
Is CFA good enough, or do you think you need to have something else, and especially MBA?
So, first of all, when we talk about private equity, there are again two aspects to it, right? You have venture capital, you have early stage investors who are typically called angels, and then you have private equity. So these are typically funds which are investing in different stages of the business, right? So private equities typically come when the company is at a growth stage, it has achieved certain scale, they have a product or service that is proven in the market, established, customers are paying
So
for
private
it.
equity acquires large
Larger,
established businesses,
yes, that's correct.
whereas VCs little
Are at
more
the early
stage.
stage. That's right. And then your angels come even before that, right? Um, I mean, when we were doing a fundraise for Easebuzz, we were interacting with a lot of private equity players because we were looking at raising about $20-30 million, right?
What's
So
the
these are
typical
the,
minimum size?
so they are like, I
So,
mean,
for example, if I want to raise funds,
yeah.
uh, should I go to a VC or PE is a function of what amount I'm raising? I mean, will that be a
Yes,
function?
that's correct.
So, at
Yeah.
what would be an amount up to which you go to VC and then go to
So I
PE?
would say that, VCs typically put in a check of about $1 million going up to say 5 million,
So,
right?
मतलब 8-10 crore 20 crore चाहिए तो VC
VC is
VC के पास जाओ.
correct.
And then
And then if you want to go for a private equity, so we got a term sheet from International Finance Corporation for $15 million.
50
15.
15.
15.
So about 120 crore के
So
आसपास.
120 crore के आसपास. So private equities typically come in wherever there is like more than $10 million, and there are some very large private equities that don't do anything less than $50 million.
Right.
So private equities typically are very large funds. And they come in at a much later stage, maybe just pre-IPO,
Right.
2 or 3 years pre-IPO, because that's the only way that they can actually exit.
Is that a good space in India? Is it a fairly evolved space?
I think that's a space which is evolving. I think it's going to grow.
It's good from a career
It is,
perspective.
I feel that, whether it's a VC, whether it's a private equity, it's a good space to be in. It's a good space to at least aspire to make a career in.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Because I think the whole ecosystem in India it has only been growing since the past
And
10 years,
yeah,
15
it's just
years.
5-10 years.
Yeah. And if you compare it to the US ecosystem, it's like there's a lot that, we have yet to kind of achieve, right?
So how is CFA good enough for me to, so let's answer this question, private equity.
Sure. So yes, coming back to the question. So what I've seen is that, okay, now there's an MBA, there is a CFA, right? And in my opinion, like I mentioned, I've done a management program from IIM Lucknow, and I've done the CFA, right? I would give CFA like, hands down, like the best, is one of the best programs that, anybody can
That's putting
go
a
through.
smile on my face.
Yeah, no,
Thank
it
you for
is.
saying that.
And I'm sure you will agree to it, right? I think the depth of knowledge that CFA has to offer, I think you don't get it anywhere. I did my management program after my CFA, and I was probably one of the only CFAs there. But it's very different. MBA is very different. Now, I would not say that, MBA is not good. I think MBA has its own benefits. What I benefited from my management program was that you get to interact and work with teams, number one. There are a lot of case studies that you get to work on, right? So applying CFA concepts, teaches you concepts, it tests you on concepts, but how do you apply them in real cases or real situations? I think that's where MBA comes in play, right? And of course, the other advantage is that if you are doing your MBA from a reputed institute, then your whole prospects of placements, your
Improves.
network, alumni, all of that is much better.
But it
That
has to
really
be,
helps.
I mean, I get your point because I'll tell you when we do placements very aggressively here, right?
Yes,
And
yes,
we've recently,
yeah,
thank you for,
yeah.
by the
No,
way, taking.
it's been great. Tisha has really
Yeah, I mean,
been
Siddharth
like,
recently recruited a couple of people from FinTree, which is nice. So we very aggressive with placements,
yeah,
and हम लोग literally will do cold calling, will reach out to people,
okay,
networking, whatever.
yeah,
We've not been very successful in private equity.
yeah,
We've had
okay,
some
yeah,
breakthroughs in
yeah, yeah,
VCs.
yeah,
What I've noticed is private equity, the good quality roles,
yeah,
there is a reluctance to hire anyone else but IIT, IIM,
yes,
mostly
yeah,
IIM,
yeah,
ABC type
correct,
of roles.
correct, correct.
Why do you think that is, and is there a way to break that thing?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, you have very few funds, and it's not only a India thing; it's there globally, right? There are very few funds. The team required to manage those funds are very small,
Right.
and therefore it just becomes very competitive, right? So you got to be the best in everything in terms of your qualifications, your experience, all of that. Unfortunately, that is the situation. But I would say that more than being hung on, just targeting private equities, I think the whole idea here is to get into the investment management space, right? Which is investing in companies. I think there could be a lot more avenues available beyond private equity. And today you have a lot of these family offices that are coming up, like families that have made generational wealth, by selling their businesses. They are
Yeah.
setting up their own family offices where they need professionals to come and help them deploy those funds and invest those
And
funds.
CFA fits in
And
that
CFA
sweet
fits in
spot,
very
no?
well.
Yeah.
And you are effectively doing the same work,
Yeah.
like when we do a fundraise, we are looking at both private equity, like all three, private equity, VC, as well as family offices. And family offices are becoming like very aggressive
Yeah.
in terms of their investments.
Very true.
And so I mean, a candidate can look beyond this, but yes, I mean, I think broadly it is a
अगर
competitive
private equity
space.
जाना है तो MBA करो.
MBA karo.
That's a higher probability, but that too in like the top tier, maybe top 5 in the country.
That's correct. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Anything less than that,
Yeah,
probably
it's a
you
little
don't have
bit
a shot.
difficult.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Second question: how do you apply CFA concepts in real life to make sure I'm not cramming?
So see, I'll tell you the way I see it is that, I mean, when you do your CFA, right, typically the mindset is that, okay, investment management, right? But I applied all the CFA concepts in corporate finance, and it's in a way very similar,
Yeah,
right? You
true.
start with a portfolio, a capital allocation. In companies, you have investment that goes in a plant, it goes into
Very true.
teams. So there's capital allocation that happens there. Then it is about evaluating the right projects to invest in or companies to invest in. So in companies, there are projects. So you are applying those same concepts there. And then there is all the performance evaluation, right? Are you
But
identifying
someone
the
who's
right?
a student, imagine now, abhi kya ho raha hai? I don't know if you are aware now. Now CFA eligibility has changed.
Okay.
So you can take CFA level 1 in the first year of graduation.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So now if you come to my classroom,
Okay.
you'd see all 19, आपके वक्त तो ऐसा नहीं होता था. Now 19,
I think
20-year-old kids in
post-graduation,
the
right?
classroom.
Correct.
So now these guys who students who probably don't have any practical experience,
Yeah,
now
yeah.
suddenly they have to read on
All
equity
of this.
valuation.
Right, right,
Do
right.
you have any ideas on if there is a way for them to apply in real life?
It's very difficult, but I think I would say that just try and get as much exposure
Yeah, maybe
as you
internships.
possibly. Yeah,
Internships
internships
is a good way to do
help.
it.
Just try to get as much
और
exposure as.
investing कर सकते हो आप. Keep a small budget.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who did this. Last night I was struggling to sleep, so I was listening to one interview of Bill Ackman.
Okay.
He started his first hedge fund. He started a hedge fund when he was like 20, 21-year old, just out of college. And his thinking was that during his college days, he basically set aside certain amount, kuch, and he said that this is my tuition cost. I'm going to invest and I'll make sure I'll try to last this amount for a year. If it goes, it goes. So maybe a little bit of investing will automatically give you some practical application. Some internships will also help. All right, next question. Trading tails. I'm working in a CSR role in MNC. I've cleared level 2 also. I have 3 years of experience. I'm confused between what should I do. A, go for level 3 with job. Second option, do financial modeling plus Python because I don't have any of the skills and little interested towards stock research. 3, leave job and do 1 and 2. MCQ option मतलब क्या नाम है इसका trading tails. What do you think of CSR?
आपका क्या भैया? What would you recommend?
यार
I'll
देखो
share my.
CSR is a good role. It's just that it's not the most desired role for someone who's in finance. I mean, some companies have large CSR budgets and they want a lot of capital efficiency. I have a student, ex-McKinsey consultant. He basically handles CSR allocation for some of the largest organization, like some Tata Sons type of organization. There's a lot of maths and thinking involved, but I don't think that career will lead you anywhere significant. If I were you, I'll probably start looking for an alternate role first. And I will not write level 3 because then you'd just be overqualified, underexperienced finance professional. Finance is not only equity, so I don't think you have to do equity. You can always do other things. But CSR role, I'm not sure if that's a really great role for someone who's in finance. What do you think?
Yeah, so I was actively involved in CSR, right? Because we had profits we had to deploy
Yeah.
it as per the
Yeah.
this thing. It's very different. I agree with you. I mean, the whole objective of CSR deployment, I would not call it investment, deployment, is that you have to look at the social side. You have to not look at the returns, the benefits. I mean, there are benefits, of course, but there's no financial
Benefits to the
returns
society
to the
in
society.
general, yeah.
And that is completely different from the whole financial investment objective. So I think it's a good suggestion that if you are already working in an organization which is an MNC, right? Yeah, then you can definitely look at another role internally first. But try to see where you can get a role where it's you're hands-on in business or you are in finance and accounts, right? But apart from that, my team, they're young, they're also doing their CFA. I feel that you are very early in your career, right? I'm guessing most of you all would be in your 20s, right? I think you should definitely make use of this time to study as much as you can, get as many qualifications as you can. CFA, I have not done all my C levels in one attempt, right? But do not give up on whatever you're doing, right? Keep doing it, and I think that it will lead you to some place.
Sure, that's a good advice. So no to CSR.
No to CSR, yeah, definitely. Not at this age.
Yeah, I mean, not for you. I mean, CSR is, of course, we can. Okay,
You
that's
can
a
do it
different
as
debate.
as a hobby, pastime.
We started doing CSR, I think, last year onwards. So I got into the whole process and
Okay, nice.
figured it's fairly interesting.
Yes, very
least to say.
different.
All right, next question, Aniket. I've cleared level 1. I'm prepping for level 2, 2.5 years in Deloitte. I'm planning to do MS in finance in USA in, what is it called? Baruch?
Baruch.
Baruch University. I'm not sure whether it's a good decision to study in USA or should I complete my CFA in India and find opportunities here. Can you guide me on this?
I mean, if you're comparing CFA with a MBA in the US, I feel that, CFA will do a lot of justice by itself.
That's a MS in finance.
Okay, so if it is MS or whatever it is, right? I think CFA by itself is so,
Yeah,
we just
in
talked
terms of
about it.
body of
I think
knowledge,
it's
absolutely.
amazing, and it is an American program, right? So you can be in India and you don't need to spend so much of money and still do get the same, same knowledge. So
Yeah, as far as learning is concerned, I think once you are a CFA, more or less, not much left in investments and
that's
finance for
correct.
you to
That's
study.
correct. That's correct.
But then the दिक्कत क्या है ना कि these the real underlying motivation to a lot of these candidates is not learning. Finding a job in USA where starting salaries could be $80,000 to $100,000. In India, to reach that level will take
Yeah.
multiple years.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, when they're asking this question, they're thinking, US में MS कर लेता हूँ, फिर नौकरी मिल जाएगी. Then life would be easier.
Yeah, it's a tricky question in a way, but I think I think that there are opportunities there. I think we Indians do very well in the US.
And finance, especially, I
And
think
finance,
we're doing good.
we are doing well. So yes, there are good opportunities out there in terms of the salary and all of that. Of course, the markets are also a lot more developed. The only trade-off is that you have to leave your family here and then go there,
Yeah.
right? So it's a decision
And
that you got to
Aniket,
take in
I'll
terms
tell you what, once you go, even if you, in your head you're thinking, I'll work for a few years, dollar करके पैसे लेके India आऊँगा, that never happens.
never
Once you're used to that lifestyle and that kind of money, you're never leaving, unless you reach in your 50s and plan to retire. So yeah, think on those angles. And I don't know about this university. Have you heard of it,
I've
Baruch?
heard of it, yes. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of universities in the US. I think it's fairly ranked. But yeah, I mean, comparing it to CFA, I would say CFA would be
Always
equally
better.
or even better.
Got it. All right. Next one. Hi, sir. I've cleared level 1 attempt. I have one more offer from Morningstar as MDP associate. But I think I'm getting underpaid as they're offering 4 lakhs per annum. I have 1 year experience as dealer with 3 lakhs per annum. But the main advantage is they're offering reimbursement of level 2 and level 3. बोलो भाई अब क्या करना है? 4 लाख दे रहा है, लड़का खुश नहीं, I'm guessing लड़का है. What do you think?
So I feel that, again, early in your career, I would say that don't look at your package. Don't look at how much you're going to earn. Focus more on the kind of opportunities that you have on offer.
Learning.
And in
right?
terms of learning,
Yeah.
is Morningstar going to be giving you some wider exposure, or is just being an equity dealer going to give you something, more to learn, right? I think the whole objective should be for you to just learn as much as you can, whether it's through core programs or whether it is through your work experience. The money will come its way. I personally believe.
I agree, 100%. My experience, Morningstar, I'm guessing आप वाशी वाले office में काम करोगे. Most of the roles in India are operations. I think less than 5% roles are analytical.
And these are mostly like the back office.
Data entry,
to the
reconciliation, because they have a fairly evolved platform. They need people to maintain that. So I don't like those type of roles. I think equity dealer is not great, but it's better than working in back office. If I were you, I'd keep on hunting for opportunities. I'll tell you what your advantage is. You're in Mumbai.
Oh, yes.
And Mumbai has tremendous opportunities. You just need to put in more efforts to search.
That's correct, yeah.
Reimbursement of level 2, level 3. See, think in terms of opportunity cost. जो आपका CFA level 2 या 3 का अभी fees है, in a few years down the line, that could be your weekly income. Right? So, but that would be your weekly income, maybe even daily income, if you really have mastered a few skills. Right? So if I were you, I'll focus on, as Siddharth said, where do I get to learn the most? That should be the thought process. And yeah, in terms of pay, I think 4 lakh per annum for level 1 cleared is okay. I mean, it's not bad. Ambidextrous. Hi, sir. I'm level 1 candidate may attempt. I got an offer from boutique wealth management firm for research role with 1.5, 2 year commitment. What's your perspective?
I
One and a
think it's
half.
good. I
Yeah.
think it's very good.
Yeah.
As long as, I mean, that research is more about understanding businesses and companies rather than just doing like some, price, data entry,
Yeah.
I think a lot of early, young candidates typically are put on these kind of roles
Data
where
entry
it's
type
just
of
about,
roles. Yeah.
yeah. But if you get an exposure, there is a possibility of you getting exposed to different companies, businesses, all of that. I think it's good. It's good at this, stage of your career.
Yeah. 1.5, 2 year, time passes if it's a good firm. I generally like early stage. I advise people to look for, instead of companies and everything else, I advise them look for bosses.
Oh
If you have
yes,
a
of
good
course. Yeah,
boss to work with, I think,
I think that's a good
yeah.
perspective. Yes.
So just look at who you'd be working with, what kind of philosophy they have with their
Yes.
business. Abhi aap, because you're very early, they might not tell you everything at interview stage. Uh, but just try to do some research on what kind of a firm it is, how do they operate, and what role is going to be. If your role involves sales or research, then I think it's a fantastic combo to have.
Yes. I agree.
Okay, Archita. Market's been very interesting. Why don't we discuss Nifty for 10 minutes? What's happening? What might happen? What has happened? Uh, I can answer what has happened. Maybe to some extent, what's happening, I have no idea what might happen. Markets are volatile. I think we all know FIs have been selling, right? And there's some sort of a reallocation happening within the emerging market umbrella. I think the markets might remain volatile because now Trump भी आ रहा है क्या तारीख है उसका 20 तारीख ना then there will be a lot of volatility around it and which is I think global, not only in India, across the world. Uh, I see in the for a long-term investor, I think short-term volatility doesn't matter, right? So for you, at least the way I look at thing is I don't care about markets because uh, I'm not buying stocks, I'm buying businesses.
Yeah, correct.
So as long as I've found a high-quality franchise at reasonable valuation, market might behave in a irrational way for some time, but long run में तो फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा.
Yes. Yeah.
Are you actively invested?
I am passively invested because I believe in passive investing.
Interesting.
Yes,
Okay.
I believe that you cannot generate an alpha um, through active investment.
We should have a
But
separate session. I'd
yeah,
like to debate you on that.
I'm sure there's a lot that you have to share on that. But it's so that is one thing. The other thing is that, when you're not in an active investment management job, right, or a role, I think it just becomes very difficult
Yeah,
to
I agree.
keep a track of the markets, your investments, your portfolios, all of that. And therefore, I feel that, let me just put my money in mutual funds and then just leave it because
So do you do mutual funds or ETFs?
I do mostly mutual funds.
Mutual funds.
And I have a very simple, debt में इतना डालना है, equity में इतना डालना है, and उतना allocation हो
Simplicity
जाता
is
है
the
SIP.
best. I think that's what works in the long run.
And it's okay, even if I'm getting like a 1% less than what the market is getting is fine. But I mean, at least I'm getting that much. Right? Otherwise, there is no time when you're not in that space. When you're doing a role which is
100%. It's a full-time job.
it's a full-time job.
I mean, if you want to be a stock picker, I think you have to put in a lot. A lot of people don't get it. They think एक हरा stock मिल गया तो life बन जाएगा. But it's actually requires an immense amount of hard work.
Yeah.
I mean,
How about
have
you?
to be.
Are you an active investor?
I am, yeah. I mean, as active as one can be. At times, I go crazy. I mean, my dark circles are because of that. I keep on
It's
reading.
addictive. No
Yeah,
doubt.
I keep on reading about stocks obsessively.
Yeah.
I think couple of days back, I had a night. रात में नींद नहीं आ रही थी for some reason. So at 11 बजे I started searching for, I went on Screener and started running some random screens and kept on finding stocks. I slept at 4:30 or 5 in the morning. It was just,
So you had an ikigai moment, huh? Where you really enjoy what you do.
yeah, correct.
In a
With
way.
stocks, I think, yeah, it's called Ikigai, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. But and I think only those people probably survive in the markets. You have to like it,
Correct.
right? If
Yeah.
you don't like
Correct.
investing, then
Correct.
probably it just becomes
And
boring.
also, you got to be very impersonal about it. You can't be like taking your losses to
Yeah,
heart,
being emotional.
being emotional about it.
Yeah,
I mean, you cut your losses, move on, make profits
yeah,
in
true.
the next
I mean,
stock.
ideally, yes,
Ideally,
that's how it
yeah.
should be done. All right, Archit is asking question on banking. This one we'll skip. Archit, I'll take your question on the next class. Uh, okay, this is a good one. Let's assume that this is a question from Abhinav Bindra. Uh, let's assume that someone is probably a 19, 20-year-old.
Yeah.
Their ultimate goal is that they want to work either in venture capital, I'll
Yeah.
broaden the question a little
Sure.
bit, or private equity. Uh, let's
So
assume
what's
they're
the
not
roadmap?
CFA today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, they're sitting on the fence
Yeah.
thinking how to plan their career.
Yeah.
What would
Yeah.
you advise them? What should be done so that they get into private equity
See,
space?
I feel that, and at least the kind of people I've interacted with in private equities and VCs are a lot of them have come from the consulting background. So,
Management consulting.
management consulting, strategy consulting. I think these are the people who have actually worked with businesses, helped carve out the strategy roadmap for these businesses, and they've been through that whole. They have that understanding in terms of how value should be created. If you have a good understanding about how value is created, then that is when you become a good investor in a private equity or a venture capital. I think it's not just about, doing a financial analysis, historical, and then saying, okay, this is what the business is going to be 2 years, 3 years from now. You need to really understand what are going to be those revenue drivers, cost drivers, what are the risks to the business. And uh, yeah, so somebody who's just starting out, of course, I would say that do an MBA, try
So
to
would
get
you
into
recommend, because MBA will happen after graduation,
yeah.
so would you recommend them probably considering something like a CA, or you think CFA would be more appropriate, or some other courses?
I think a CFA is good, but I would say that, okay, if you cannot get into a consulting firm, you could as well try and get into a corp dev kind of a team, right? And there are so many companies that have corporate dev teams, right? Where you are actually getting your hands dirty and helping build value for
But
that
क्या
firm, right?
किसी बीकॉम को corp dev में can a BCom get a job in corporate development team? Because even their recruitment criteria is fairly strict, is what I've seen.
Yeah. Oh, so straight from after graduation.
Yeah, I
Is
mean,
that
so
what?
like, so I'm 19-year-old, I like private equity, for example. Now, how do I plan my career? Of course,
Yeah.
MBA is one way to do
Yeah.
it, that will come in a few years. Plus, IIMs will have how many seats in India? Right? 1,000, 2,000, I don't know how many seats. So it's not going to be easy. Uh,
Yeah.
what do I do?
It is competitive,
It's
no
tough.
doubt about it. It is competitive, but there are a few things that you should do, right? You can work towards an MBA, you can work towards a CFA, you can work towards a consulting firm, or a corporate development team in companies, and then eventually in your 30s you can look at getting into a
So
private
it's going to
equity.
be a fairly
It is.
long,
It is
long
going to
journey
be.
getting into.
It's going to be a.
Yeah.
Unless you are like really super smart, you are an IIT, Bombay topper, IIM Ahmedabad topper, and then you go straight into
Yeah,
like private equity.
of course. Yeah.
Yeah, you can try that as well.
Those are rare species.
Yeah.
I think one other approach I've seen is failed entrepreneurs. I think I've also seen people who tried doing some ambitious startups or businesses, but for some reason didn't work. I've seen even these people end up getting on the VC or the PE side.
Yeah, I think they make amazing investors. They're called operators,
Correct. Yeah.
So somebody who's actually been there, done that is an operator running a VC, right? And they come with a lot more insights, a lot more understanding about an investment opportunity, uh, purely because they've kind of been through it, right? Rather than just looking at financial statements. So there are, I mean, today I think the whole startup ecosystem is a lot more vibrant than what it used to be probably 10, 15 years ago. And there's a lot more support in the ecosystem, right? In terms of funding, in terms of advisory. And yes, if you can do something where you are actually building a firm hands-on, there's no better way in which you can become an investor.
Yeah.
I feel today, after having worked with companies, I feel that today I'm a far better investor in the stock market than if at all I
What
do
you were
it.
probably,
Yeah, in terms of evaluating an investment opportunity, right, than what I was earlier when I just kind of started out. So my whole belief is that try and get as deep into understanding a business rather than just looking at it as an investment opportunity कि 3 महीना में क्या होगा या market अभी गिरा
So
है
learn
तो
businesses in whatever way you
and
can,
there is so
either
much to
by
it,
doing
right?
it.
There
Yeah.
is so much to a business that typically, and I've interacted with investors, right? And I see, they try and understand the business to a certain level, but there's a lot more depth that is required in terms of
True.
understanding a
Very true.
business. And of course, all of that came because I was
Other side.
on the other side.
Okay. Live, Jana. All right, let's go live. Okay, so we're moving to YouTube live now. I can see we already have a few questions. I'll start with question from Atharv. Hello, I want to enter PVC sector of alternative investment. What will be good entrance point for this career? What is the future growth? Future growth is enormous. I think that part is okay. How to enter is, I think that's what we've been discussing.
We just talked about it.
And of course, it's not going to be easy, but I'll tell you what you do. And I've spoken this before. Luckily, our regulator has created this database on the SEBI website of all the AIFs, all categories 1, 2, 3. And these AIFs have to provide their email IDs, even their phone numbers. So if you just do a little bit of data scraping on SEBI website, you can download the whole bunch of database of all these AIFs. The fund manager, which basically means then you can start tracking them on LinkedIn, Twitter, everywhere. Just start following them. If they're speaking somewhere, go and attend those sessions. Cold emailing, cold calling, just all that you need is one person to trust you. So create that opportunity for yourself.
Yeah, and like I mentioned earlier, I think the other avenue is your family offices, right? And the beauty about family offices is that unlike a private equity or a VC fund where the fund is like capped out, they raise 200 crores and then they don't take more investments, right? In a family office, you have a business which is backing the family, and there's continuous dividend that is flowing in every year, right? So that fund keeps growing, and there's always a need to invest more and more money as you go along, right? So family office is another avenue, but it's not as easy as you have a list of all the private
But
equities.
surprisingly, we found it easier to place people in family offices. In fact, Siddharth, I'm amazed that the rate at which new family offices are opening up in India.
It's a big
Right, last 6 months, I can tell you 3 big family offices, and I think now the one that you spoke about, is that a family office?
Which one?
The one that they're recruiting people from FinTree, Radha's. No, that's not a family
No,
office.
that's a wealth advisory firm.
Wealth advisory.
Yeah.
So I know at least 3 large family offices which have opened.
Right. In Pune?
In Pune.
Okay.
In this area, like
In this area.
5-kilometer radius here.
Right. Yeah.
And each one of them with, starting from 200 crores to even 2000 crores.
Correct.
And it's kind of become a thing now.
Yes.
These entrepreneurs have understood the concept and they see the benefit of having their own family office.
Absolutely.
And for them, they want to recruit CFAs.
Exactly.
So I think that's a fantastic opportunity. If you can keep an eye on all the family offices which are opening, maybe you can generate some opportunities there. All right, Samarth. I'm a final year BBA student. Failed my level 2 November attempt. What should I do? Go for a job or give May attempt?
Give May attempt.
In May attempt?
Clearly, I will always recommend that you go and finish your stuff.
Okay. Sure. So May attempt is what Siddharth thinks. If you're closer to the minimum passing score, May is just a few months away. So you can definitely consider writing it since your graduation will also be getting over soon. in general, what I've been recommending people is that don't pass level 3 uh, without getting at least some work ex. Because what has happened now in the market is,
Yeah.
if you're a CFA level 3 cleared and you're still a fresher, then you're overqualified, under experienced. So a lot of employers we see are reluctant to hire them.
I see.
So ideally, sweet spot is you can pass level 1, level 2 as a student, but then make sure you get at least one and a half year of experience before you pass level 3.
Sure.
All right, Vansh. I'm interested in establishing a prop trading firm using my own capital, 40 lakhs. I'm interested in knowing, is it feasible to achieve 3% monthly return by applying range trading? Do you know what the thing is? You're asking wrong set of people. मैं वंश 40 लाख एफडी में डालो और कोई नौकरी ढूंढ लो भाई. Range trading 3% per month. Wow, at 3% per month you would be competing with that, क्या नाम था उस बंदे का जो भी गुजर गए, the hedge fund, no, the hedge fund guy, Jim Simmons, no? Jim Simons. Is this, I mean, come on, it's not happening. I've not seen, in last 15 years, I haven't seen many traders who can generate 40%, 36% type of CAGR consistently. और 40 लाख पे आप क्या ही कर लोगे यार. अब let's assume आप 30% भी बना लिया, आप 12 लाख बनाओगे.
Yeah.
Right?
But I mean, going by what you said, suggested earlier, right? I mean, he would rather use this money to make like a, and use it as a learning experience by investing.
Yeah, but 40 lakhs is too much.
He can take like 2-3.
Yeah, maybe some part of
shares.
it. Yeah. Some part of it you can deploy for learning purposes. But I don't see trading as a long-term career. And even if it were in the past, it's disappearing because humans will never be better than computers in data analysis, as simple as that.
Yes,
right?
right.
So trading careers are slowly going away. How to find family offices? One rejected me a year back, calling me overqualified. Is there a way to find out how new family offices are?
Yeah,
Is there are you aware of some databases or?
No, it's a bit difficult because even we kind of, when we are helping companies with fundraise, we are also actively looking for family offices. We've not really come across any one source where you'll always get like the list of top 20, 30 family offices in the country.
Yeah.
Right.
वही प्रेम जी और वो सब वाले, हाँ, बड़े बड़े आएंगे.
But like you said, right, there are new family offices that have come just around here. There's no real one source where you can get this information.
That's because family offices, it's an abstract concept, to be honest. It's not a registered legal entity. It doesn't have to be.
So we work with one family office in Pune, and the other aspect to it is that it's the name of the family office is nothing linked to the surname of the family, right?
Yeah.
So
you would never know.
Yeah, so that's another challenge in a way.
Right. Maybe some, on the ground intel is what you need. I think the way I get to know about is mostly through students and people I know.
Yeah. And sometimes on LinkedIn, you have people who say that so and so family office.
Yeah.
So LinkedIn is by far the best source to get this information.
Right. Okay. Ansar is asking, this is an interesting one. Is it possible to learn financial modeling instead of doing CFA and enter finance world? We get this a lot. In fact, I'll tell you, a lot of people come here. They want to do our financial modeling course. Why? Because CFA lamba hai. Takes a lot of money, a lot of time. So people think that I'll do financial modeling, get a job, and then maybe, if required, I'll do CFA in the future. Do you think financial modeling is a good enough skill to?
So first of all, what I will suggest is that you should definitely register for Utkarsh sir's financial modeling course. No, seriously, because I learned my financial modeling from you and your program. I think it's really amazing, the program that sir has put together. Having said that, it is important to have. It is a skill which is very important to have. But It's not something which is really required so often in the real
Can
world,
this be a substitute to, like, let's say, not studying traditional finance?
No, I
Maybe.
think financial modeling is a very small aspect to the whole thing.
Yeah. And you become a good modeler only when you know the background theory, right? Otherwise, how will someone understand a DCF or a relative valuation metrics?
Correct.
Yeah, so we generally discourage people signing up for modeling if they don't have a finance background, because then, see, financial modeling is just it's a little bit like uh, practical application of what you learn in finance in a narrow area.
Yeah.
So if you don't know finance, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I mean, you should at least know the basics of accounting
Yeah.
to be able
Exactly. So
to,
financial
yeah.
statements and cash
So
flows and all of it.
just to kind of give more flavor here, we have Sanmat who joined us from
Yeah.
FinTree.
Sanmat is one of the interns who recently got
He
selected.
just
Is
recently
from
started, and I was telling Sanmat that when you look at an IT services company and the kind of financial models that are out there, which are prepared for listed companies, for example, there is a very different approach to that financial projections,
Yeah.
right? As compared to, uh, the kind of financial models that are prepared by the company for the company, where there is
Internal
planning,
financial models.
internal
Yeah.
financial models, where you have to go to a level 2, level 3
Very granular.
revenue model detail, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about, this was a sale last year and so it grew by 10% and then 15%
Yeah, because I think
right?
when you're inside the company, and especially in IT services, you also know which clients
Yes.
and how much wallet share can I expect to
Yes,
get.
yes.
So you can be very, very granular there.
So you have to understand those revenue drivers to be able to make a good financial model. So accounting basic is very, very much required, but also understanding of the business is very much important in financial modeling.
So CFA पढ़ो, और CFA नहीं पढ़ना है तो at least finance पढ़ लो. I mean, just buy CFA books and read them if you feel it's expensive, and then maybe financial modeling will come in handy. Okay. Meetal is making a good point. She says financial modeling should be looked at as a skill source rather than knowledge source. Makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
Ashish, I'm currently in Haryana finding a job to start my career and get salary to pursue level 2. I failed level 2 November. What do you think I should do? I shift to Mumbai, Pune. I didn't find job here. हरियाणा में गुड़गांव है. गुड़गांव हरियाणा ही पड़ता है ना. तो मिल तो जाएगा वैसे
What has
गुड़गांव है.
been your experience in terms of best cities to work in as far as finance is concerned?
In India, it has to be Bombay.
Bombay.
I don't think there is any other place in the country.
And how do you see places like Gurgaon or Bangalore or even Pune for that matter?
Some profiles are good in Gurgaon. For example, Gurgaon is kind of becoming a hub for a lot of these algo trades and HFT. So Gurgaon has a tech orientation to it. So so if that's the place you're targeting, maybe Gurgaon would be fantastic. But if you want to be in, like traditional finance, equities, fixed income, kind of the knowledge sharing that happens in Bombay, like the BKC belt, Andheri belt, I don't think anywhere else in India you have that kind of opportunity. So I'm a big fan of Bombay. And a lot of times that thought crosses my mind that why am I sitting in Pune? What do you think?
Yeah, so one is that I feel that
Can you keep the mic? Sorry.
I think what is most important is that are you working in the same market that you're living in, right? So if you are like in Pune, right, you've got so many of these big banks out here, but most
helping
of the work
US
is
US
like,
work,
for some other market, and it becomes very difficult to relate to a lot of things.
Especially if you're doing equities, maybe then it's very tough.
So if you are in the Indian markets, try to get something where you are actually working in the Indian markets, right? Because there's a lot more of knowledge sharing, and I think that really helps. I started my career very early on working for the US market. I was a research analyst for the high yield bond market in the US.
Really? Where was this?
So this was here. I mean, our office was in Pune, but I was working for an ex Goldman Sachs MD who had set up his own fund in the US, and we were investing in the high yield bond market.
Interesting.
which operates very similar to equities in a way.
This is which
But
year?
this was in way back in 2001,
Okay.
2002. So I got a lot of exposure, out there. But that's one thing which I kind of always missed out on, because I used to see investment opportunities, but there's nothing you can do about
I
it.
can't. Yeah, you can't invest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. We have time for one last question. But I really love the point that you're saying. In fact, I will go to this extent of saying if you're living in India, uh, अगले 20-30 साल is the Amrit Kal, what we say. There are multiple data points that indicate this, right? Financialization of savings. And just look at around you, how many people are talking about mutual funds sahi hai and SIP. And even though you see so many people doing it, it's still just the top 7-8% population, right? So lot of money yet to come in financial markets in India. So if I were you to restart my career completely, I think Indian geography and Indian markets, that's a perfect combo. And BKC is the place to be in. I think that's,
BKC, Lower Parel.
yeah, BKC, Lower Parel, South Bombay, Andheri. But, all right, last question and then we wrap it up. कुछ अच्छा लेता है. Do you want to pick any question out of this?
Yeah, I think most of these questions are very similar in a
Yeah.
way.
They end up becoming similar. I think Shreyas वाला ले लेंगे. Shreyas क्या कह रहा
Years of
है?
work
I
experience.
currently work at a top IB in the world and I have 3 years of experience under operations. I'm planning to pursue level 1 now. Do you think it's a good? Someone who's in
So-
operations,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
CFA good?
absolutely.
Right?
Like any time is a good time to pursue your CFA. I think I did my CFA much later in my career. So it's never too late to pursue your CFA.
All right. One last, that's very tempting. VC में salary कितना मिलता है? What kind of salaries do you get in investment banking? How much money? Okay, a couple of questions I have.
Yeah.
How does a investment banker make money?
Okay. So typically when we talked about the conventional investment banker, he's usually getting a percentage of the funds that he raises, right?
Right.
When you had this about 2 years back, you had this real boom that was happening globally, where asset prices had shot through the roof. Anybody and everybody who wanted to raise funds was getting funds. And so there were a lot less investment bankers to kind of, cater to all of this. And there was that fee structure where there was a retainership as well as a fixed, as well as success based, right? But ever since we had the downturn that happened and funding kind of dried up, most of the bankers are working purely on the success fee basis.
So, for example, I come to you to raise money for my business, and let's say I want to raise 100 crores. If you're successfully helping me to raise that, then you would charge probably
So typically, okay, so the number ranges anywhere between, depending upon the size of the business. So if it's a very early stage company, that number would be anywhere between 3 to 5%.
Okay.
But if it is a large round, it would be about 2 to 3%.
So 100 crore के पीछे आप, let's say you charge about 3-4%. So you end up taking a fee of about
Say
4
3
crore.
crores, yeah.
3 to 4
3 to
crore
4
would be your
crores,
fees.
Yeah. And that process typically goes on for about 6 to 9 months in the best case scenario.
Right.
Because you need to spend about 2-3 months preparing the company, preparing all the marketing material, financial model, all of that.
Yeah.
Then you go out in the market, you're reaching out to investors.
Yeah.
Investors take their time for evaluation.
Yeah. काफी
And
deal
then
पास
there
में
is-
आके भी टूट जाता है.
हाँ, फिर उसके बाद ड्यू डिलिजेंस होता है after the term sheet is issued. And so that process is about 9 to 12 months. So you have to have that ability to sustain yourself without any retainership,
Got it.
right?
Yeah.
Until you get the 3 to 4 crores.
So what kind of salaries does a boutique, so yours, we can call it as a boutique investment bank.
Yes.
What kind of salaries a boutique investment banker can get?
my firm would not be like the best example, but if I have to look at some of the top boutique firms out there, I would suppose that an entry level that would be typically like an analyst or an associate would get anywhere between 35 to 50 lakhs.
What?
Yes.
Entry level 35 to 50 lakhs?
It's not exactly entry level, right? So that person comes with
some
some bit of
experience.
experience, but he starts off at like an associate level, and that's
तो बढ़िया यार हमको भी नौकरी चाहिए 35-50 में. Great. Okay. All right. Siddharth, thank you very
yes.
much.
Thank
I
you very
truly,
much.
truly appreciate your
It
time.
was a pleasure to be here on the show.
Fun conversation.
Yes.
And we hope to bring you back someday on the
Definitely,
session.
would love to come back.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, everyone. All the questions that we couldn't answer today, you can put them in the comments of the current video once this gets live on YouTube, and then we'll try and answer them in the next session. Have we finalized the speaker for the next session? No. Okay. So the speaker profile for the next session would be posted on FinTree's Instagram page. Yes, we do have an Instagram page. So we will be posting the profile of the speaker for the next event, so that in case if you want to kind of calibrate your questions accordingly, you can do that. So once again, Siddharth, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And see you all next week, same time.